The Jewish holiday of Purim is celebrated annually on the 14th day of the Hebrew month Adar, which on the lunar calendar falls on the full moon. Purim celebrates the book of Esther. It is contained in the mid-century scroll called a Megillah. On Purim, the whole Megillah is read or performed in countless creative ways in synagogues throughout the world. Esther was a woman who used her influence and personal power to save her people. When the name of the evil villain is mentioned, the audience must boo loudly. The villain's name is Haman. Over 2,000 years ago, the cruel Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the Holy Temple in Jerusalem and exiled the Jewish people in Babylonia. 50 years later, Babylonia was defeated by Persia, and King Ahasuerus ruled 127 provinces, the strongest kingdom in the world. To celebrate, the new king held an epic feast in the new capital city of Shushan for all the important people in the kingdom, and it lasted for 180 days.
Thank you for attending my 180-day feast. At my next celebration, the whole city will be invited, even the Jews. Before we close this fabulous festival, I invite the beautiful Queen Vashti to join me. My Queen Vashti is the most beautiful woman in the kingdom. Vashti, come here and do the dance of the 7 veils for our guests. Vashti, where are you? Vashti, come out this minute. This is your king commanding you to dance for the people.
I will not dance the 7 veils before this crowd. I am the proud granddaughter of the cruel Nebuchadnezzar. I refuse to appear. Am I a servant to the king?
This queen is defiant. Am I not the ruler of this realm? Mighty king of all Persia? Vashti thinks she can rely on the power of her dead grandfather, Nebuchadnezzar. I am the king now. Let the punishment for her defiance be an example to the whole kingdom.
To demonstrate his power, the king commanded his guards to bring Queen Vashti before the crowd and behead her on the spot. Without delay, King Ahasuerus demanded a new queen.
Regent, I need a new queen. Find me the finest queen, one even more beautiful than Vashti. Take your best men and go from house to house throughout Persia in search of the most attractive young women. Bring them here so that I can select the perfect new queen.
In Shushan, a beautiful Jewish orphan girl named Hadassah lived with her uncle Mordecai, the elder. The king's men were going door to door, inviting the loveliest young women to go to Shushan to meet the king. When Mordecai saw them coming, he encouraged his niece to seek good fortune.
Maybe you should go with the king's men to Shushan to see if you could be the new queen. Everyone admires your beauty and humble grace. This could be an opportunity gifted to you from Adonai, the Creator. Don't be afraid, but do not tell them you're a Jew. Use your Persian name, Esther, and God will watch over you.
The king's men were very polite, and so she joined the loveliest young women of the land to go meet the king.
Nice, very nice. Too fat. Too skinny. Overdressed. Underdressed. Ooh. What is your name?
My name is Esther, Your Highness.
That is such a beautiful Persian name. And you're the loveliest one here. You will be my new queen.
Esther told no one that she was a Jew, and she chose maidservants to help her observe her religion while keeping her secret. Every day, Mordecai waited outside the palace gate to visit with Esther. One day, Mordecai heard two criminals plotting to kill the king.
We'll wait until dark, sneak over the wall and get in. We'll find the king's chamber and stab him while he's asleep, then steal what we can in the room and jump back out the window. What do you say?
Yeah, see? Let's do it.
Oh no! These criminals must be stopped. I have to warn Esther to advise the king at once. Esther, just before you arrived, I heard two men plotting to kill the king. You must make sure the king knows that his life is threatened.
It is forbidden to approach the king without an invitation. But I can tell the king's regent, and he'll know what to do.
Your Royal Majesty, Queen Esther's uncle Mordecai, the elder, just warned us that he heard two men plotting to kill you. The criminals were caught running from the gate and were executed on the spot.
That is very good, Regent. You say Queen Esther's old uncle Mordecai thwarted this evil threat?
Yes, Your Highness. It was Mordecai, the elder Jew.
Well, that was heroic. Let's be sure his name is recorded in the Royal Book of Remembrance.
Yes, sire.
Soon thereafter, King Ahasuerus appointed a new prime minister to serve as his right-hand man, second most powerful leader of the realm. The king chose the wealthiest man in the kingdom for this job, the man with the three-pointed hat, Haman.
By my decree, Haman is now appointed Prime Minister to help me in the mighty task of ruling the 127 provinces of Persia. Treat him with respect for his leadership over all citizens of this land.
In respect for the Prime Minister, everyone in his kingdom must bow down to me whenever I pass. Those who do not comply will be severely punished.
Mordecai always tried to be respectful, but the prime minister wore a big idol around his neck, and bowing down to an idol or a person are both forbidden to Jews. So Mordecai refused to bow down.
Look at Mordecai the Jew. He is not bowing down. That is infuriating. He heard what I said, and he is being intentionally defiant. I will take this matter to the king immediately. I'll recommend that Mordecai be hung in the town square, just like the king made an example of Vashti. Mordecai should be made an example to all the Jews in the land, or they will act as if they are exempt from my new laws. I am the king's prime minister. To draw up a decree, I must discuss this first with the king.
Your Majesty, the Prime Minister, Haman.
Your Majesty, there is something very important I must tell you. Scattered throughout your kingdom, there is a separate nation that does not eat our food, drink our wine, or marry our daughters. They have their own laws, and every 7th day they refuse to work and close their shops. These defiant people are always celebrating their own holidays. If you give me permission, I will destroy them for you. I will even pay the expense for their annihilation.
Oh, well, all right, here. Take this royal ring to seal your orders and decrees.
I must impress the king. This order must be carried out on the perfect day.
A lucky day, blessed by his gods, was chosen by divination and star casting. In Hebrew, Purim means lot, like a lottery. A chance oracle would select the date for this murderous pronouncement. Sealed with the king's royal ring, the following message was sent to all 127 provinces.
By the order of the Prime Minister, Haman. On the 13th day of the month of Adar, all citizens loyal to the king are hereby free to slaughter all Jews, young and old, women and children. Their money and property will then belong to you.
When Mordecai heard the decree, he ripped his clothing and poured ashes on his head as a sign of mourning.
You must go to the king and do what you can to save the Jews.
I am afraid to appear uninvited before the king. It is forbidden. He could have me beheaded like he did to Queen Vashti. It is not safe to approach the king or ask favors.
God may have made you queen for this very purpose. You cannot be silent when the lives of all your people are threatened.
Esther's identity as a Jew would be revealed if she made this request to the king. She was afraid and asked all Jews to fast and pray for 3 days for her safety. When 3 days of prayer and fasting ended, Esther approached the king.
What is your request, my queen? Half of my kingdom is yours for the asking.
Thank you for seeing me, your graciousness. I wanted to invite you and Prime Minister Haman to a celebration banquet. Will you attend and bring the Prime Minister?
I would be delighted, and I assure you, Haman will be honored as well. The Prime Minister will be notified and will be there.
At Queen Esther's first celebration, the food and entertainment was superb, and the queen's charm and graciousness impressed all the court. After dinner, Esther spoke privately with the king and Prime Minister Haman.
Dear sirs, I hope you have had a pleasant time at my festivities.
It has been splendid, my dear. You are a marvelous hostess.
I found the evening very entertaining.
Might you honor me with your presence at a second, even more private soiree tomorrow night in my restricted quarters? I promise to have something special prepared for you both.
Oh, yes, indeed.
It would please me to return tomorrow.
Haman departed the palace.
Tra-la-la-la-la! I have the king's ring, and I'm going to the queen's private feast.
He then passed Mordecai at the gate, and when Mordecai did not bow down to him, his delight turned to rage, and he stormed off in a fury.
I've been invited to join the king at a special honoring in the queen's private chamber, and that Jew refuses to bow down to me? I'd like to arrest that Mordecai right now and sentence him to death on the spot, without waiting for the 13th day of Adar. I don't even need the king's permission now that I have the royal ring. But I will first go home and speak to my wife Zeresh about this. That Jew, Mordecai, won't bow down to me when I pass. When his insolence toward me is known to all, no one will respect my superiority.
You should hang that disrespectful Jew. You are the Prime Minister. The king would want you to make an example of that self-important scoundrel. Go ahead and build those gallows in our own courtyard, where people from all around can witness him swing.
So Haman had gallows built in his courtyard, swearing to hang Mordecai at the first opportunity. That very night, the king could not fall asleep. He tossed and turned, and he finally called his guard.
Guard, bring me the royal book of remembrances to read myself to sleep.
The heavy book fell open to the story of how Mordecai the Jew had warned of the plot against the king and saved his life.
Here it recounts that heroic warning by the wise Jew Mordecai. What reward did the elder Jew receive? Mordecai reported the criminal plot and saved my life.
None, your majesty.
He saved my life and received no reward?
No, he is not, your majesty.
I will have this taken care of tomorrow. This is a task for my new prime minister, Haman.
Boo!
The next morning, Haman came to speak with the king about making an example of Mordecai the Jew. Before the prime minister had a chance to speak, the king thundered,
Just the man I wish to see. Haman!
Bell.
Tell me, Prime Minister, what shall be done for a man the king wishes to honor?
He must be referring to me. I know just the thing. Let such a man wear the king's royal robes, place the king's royal crown upon his head, and let him ride the king's royal horse. Let a servant of the court walk before the horse and cry out, Thus shall be done for the man whom the king wishes to honor.
Wonderful idea. I knew I could leave it to you. You, my Prime Minister, are the highest servant of the court. Find Mordecai the Jew and do exactly as you described, down to the last detail.
Bitterly, Haman did as he was commanded and led Mordecai with royal honor through the streets of Shushan. Humiliated, Haman returned home a broken man. But he had no time to brood. He had to be at the royal palace in time for the queen's second banquet.
Thank you so much for coming to my private residence. There's something very important I need to ask you.
What is it you desire, Esther, my dear? Why have you invited us to this private dinner? Speak, and it shall be done.
Please, my king, spare my life and the lives of my people. We have been sentenced to death.
Sentenced to death? Your people? By whom?
By an evil and wicked man, your minister, Haman.
The king was so upset that he marched out of the room to regain his composure. Trembling and fearful, Haman threw himself onto the queen to beg for mercy. At that very moment, King Ahasuerus burst back into the room to see Haman pressing himself onto the queen.
What? You dare to fling yourself on the queen in my palace? Guards, take him away and hang him!
In the end, Haman was hung on the gallows built in his own courtyard for Mordecai. Mordecai became the king's new prime minister and received the royal ring. Mordecai immediately sent out a new royal decree.
Under the protection of the king, on the 13th of Adar, Jews are urged to arm and defend themselves against any attacks.
Jews were victorious over attackers, gave thanks to Creator, and celebrated. Thank you to all the puppet players, and especially to artist Perry Kroeger for creating the puppets, props, and sets for CoSM's performance celebrating Purim.
Has anyone seen my husband?
He got it. It needs a funny ending, I'm telling you.